Welcome back to my channel, and today I want to give my quick take on Smile. It's a psychological horror thriller, and before I give my quick take, let me just give you the synopsis, and this comes from AMC. After witnessing a bizarre, traumatic incident involving a patient, Dr. Rose Cotter, Sosie Bacon, fun fact, she's Kevin Bacon's daughter, starts experiencing frightening occurrences that she can't explain. As an overwhelming terror begins taking over her life, Rose must confront her troubling past in order to survive and escape her horrifying new reality. So I enjoyed this film. I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was really good. However, there are some there's definitely some negatives. It's not a perfect movie at all. It's very enjoyable, but I think the at least the what I consider to be the negative parts just brought down the film for me. Um, but overall, like I said, I did enjoy it. So, Dr. Rose Cotter, she's a psychiatrist, or psychologist. I'm not sure, but she works at a hospital, and she has patients, and one day, this young woman came in, and this young woman, she's a PhD student, and she sees her professor commit suicide. And after that happened, she starts experiencing the PhD student. She starts experiencing these visions, these that something is basically like haunting her, right? Some spirit, something. And so that girl ends up killing herself, committing suicide in front of Dr. Cotter. And so then now she starts experiencing those same like visions and like something's like a presence, right? Like something's there haunting her, like something evil, right? Something that she can't explain. So it starts basically taking over her life, where she's uh, she's not sleeping, she's hallucinating, those visions, and it's just taking over her life. It's just making her life miserable, basically, because she starts seeing things and doing things that that she doesn't even remember, or she has no control over, right? So, for instance, she'll pick up a phone and it's the evil spirit, and then she'll wake from that, like, from that experience, and then the phone call, things like that, right? Things that she doesn't know where she's at. So all this stuff starts happening, and so I really enjoy all that. Like I said, it's a psychological horror film, right? Where I think they went, at least for me, then I think they went wrong was folk doing more of the horror elements. The psychological thriller part, I think that's what was working for the film, at least for me. That's the part that I enjoyed the most. And the horror elements, like the jump scares and things like that, that's where it didn't work for me. Um, and like there's a part, and this is in the trailer. There's a part where she's in her car and there's a female walking towards her, and basically like the head comes down of that female. It turns out in the movie it's the sister, and but things like that, right? It's just a jump scare. There's nothing to it, right? So for me, things like that type of element, it just it just wasn't done it was just done, like I said, just for the jump scare, just to do that, right? And it just I think it could have been, like I said, the thriller part, the psychological thriller part. That's what was working for this movie, and I think and if they would have focused more on that instead of giving us those little bits of the horror elements, I think it could have been a much better film, at least for me. Right? It's still getting good reviews and all that, and I would still recommend for sure go watch it. I think it's worth watching, but that part was. And also the score. Certain parts of the score I didn't like because I felt like it took you away from the movie. It didn't the vibe of it on certain parts just didn't work. Like there's a part in the film where I think she's walking out of I think it's the hospital or some other building, and it's like a some type of sonic sound, like a boom 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 boom. And for me, for whatever reason, I just didn't it didn't vibe with with that scene and with the movie. So there was a few parts with the score that just the vibe wasn't there. It just didn't connect for me. But overall, it was fine. The score was fine, but there was just certain parts, just like with the horror parts, it just didn't. It just wasn't there for me fully, and I wish it was because it would have been just like a knockout movie for me, like a really good psychological thriller that you would go back to, or you could recommend, like, hey man, this is really good. But I still recommend it because it's still a good watch. Um, and one of the reasons why I felt it was so good is because the actor, Sozi, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, Sozi. Uh, wow, she was the standout for sure. She really played the when she was starting seeing visions and experiencing all those hallucinations. You can really see like it was thick. Like you can really feel her anxiety, her just not knowing what the hell's happening, right? When she's trying to figure out what's going on, uh, it you can really feel it, and you can see, like, she's not getting sleep. You can see all of it, the stress and all of it, and you can feel it. And, like, it's like palpable. It was so she really sold it. She was really good in it, and I'll give her that. So she was she was good. She was good. Um, what else? Yeah, so overall, I did enjoy it. You can kind of see where the movie was gonna go, unfortunately. So that's and like the reveal of like the monster stuff. Hmm, it's a little too CGI for me. So that part I didn't really like. Um, and then there was like a backstory with the mom. Like her mom died from an overdose. It seems like I don't know. I don't know what type of drugs. I don't know if it was prescription drugs or like an actual like other recreational drugs or what it was. So basically, they kept like giving uh um visuals of her past, of her being like a kid. I think she was like 10 years old. I believe that's what they said when her mom died. And so then at the end, they finally kind of revealed the whole story. So basically, she walks in on her mom, and it seems like that's something that her mom has done before, where she like like overdoses and but they call for help, right? But this time, she walks in her mom's bedroom, and she's in lying on her bed, and she tells Rose, call for help. Mommy has made a mistake again, and she needs help and call for help. But this time, Rose doesn't. She says no and just leaves. But then her mom dies, right? So she's been living with that guilt, growing up with that guilt of her mom dying. So she blames herself, right? And so they keep giving that element. And did it work for the movie? Did it need it? I guess that maybe I think that's why I'm assuming that's why she became a doctor, a psychiatrist, or psychologist. I'm assuming that's maybe why she did that and to help other people. I guess. I mean, they didn't really explicitly say that, but I'm assuming that's sort of what, causation of what, why she wanted to be what she is now in her profession. So I guess that's like an explanation, but did we need it? I mean, it's debatable, right? I mean, it's fine, and I don't have any an issue with it. one of the things that was interesting, like when we were, it was being revealed, like, what's happening. So basically, this entity will transfer to the next person. So if this person, if whoever's watching the the person that's affected, or that has that's seeing this visions, whoever's watching that, whoever watches that person kill themselves, then that entity, that evil spirit, gets transferred to them. So now they start seeing that, and then they kill themselves, and then whoever sees them kill themselves, well, then it gets transferred to them, and it's just so on and so forth, right? So what one guy, so far there's been like 20 incidents that's happened, but 19 deaths. So then she goes talk to the one guy, and you can see that in the trailer, who's in prison. Like, why, how did he escape, dying? And basically what happens is he also researched, and he found that in Brazil, one guy, what he did was he killed someone in front of another person, and then they got transferred to that person that saw the killing. So basically you would have to you know uh, uh, commit murder, but in front of someone else. That way, because that entity, that's the way they express it, needs like some type of traumatic event, um, in order to move on from you to that person. And so that's the explanation, which I liked. I like that explanation, because then it gives you like the sense, like, okay, is she gonna commit murder? So there's a scene where she goes back to the hospital she works at and kills a patient, and kills the patient in front of her boss, basically. Um, but it was a vision again. It was like a hallucination. So she never really kills somebody. So what she ends up doing is she decides she's gonna go to where she grew up, in the house, and it's like in the middle of nowhere, and it's abandoned, and it's run down, and she's gonna stay there trying to rat it out, because she figures, okay, if I don't, um, i- if there's no one there to see me die, commit suicide, then it can pass on to that person. So she's kind of hoping that either it leaves her, because there's no one around and it can't transfer, or if she ends up dying because she commits suicide, or because the entity makes her do it, then it can be transferred. So there's like two scenarios there, right? Um, so, but then you can see where it's going, because then also, like, what another negative, is that, well, it's to move the movie forward. So her ex boyfriend is a cop. So then that's how she finds out more information about other incidents that's happened, right? So I mean, that's a convenient thing, right? So having a cop as the next, and then get the information for her, but it does move the story forward. So I get that. So that's the part, as an audience, you just have to accept, and I accepted it. It's fine. But then the part where you can kind of see where it's going, then the boyfriend, shows up at the house. I'm assuming like GPS or whatever. They didn't really say it, but he shows up there, and then while as he shows up, she's experiencing, like, now she's finally seeing the entity, the evil, right? And as he's trying to get in the house, the entity is going and is basically taking over Dr. Rose. And when he finally gets in, she's facing like the wall, and then when she turns around, she's smiling, because everyone that ends up killing themselves starts smiling, like a big smile, right? Like you can see in the poster. So then, as an audience member, we know, okay, now she, for sure, now she has the evil, and now she's gonna die. So basically, she's pouring gasoline, and then she lights herself on fire, and you can see it in his eyes. There's a like the camera work, you can see on his eyes the reflection of her killing herself, and now basically he's gonna get infected by the evil. And I mean, it's an okay ending, but you can see like where they were going for maybe like a sequel, I guess. Like if it does well, this can be like a franchise. So, I mean that it was okay. The ending was all right. It wasn't great for me, but overall, I mean I did enjoy it. One of the positives I will say is the direction, the what the director did with the shots. uh, I thought certain shots were certain like close-up shots were really good, really good. There were some shots with one of her patients like screaming at her, and it was a really close-up shot, and then it was a close-up shot of her, and it just you can feel like the pressure, like the confrontation, like the fear that she was having. You can feel it, and it was really good. So certain shots, man, or really, I did enjoy that. So the direction I did enjoy. It was really good. So it brought a lot to the movie, to the film. But like I said, there were some negative parts, there were some positive parts, but overall, I did enjoy it. It could have, for me, if they would focus more on the psychological thriller parts and not as much in the horror film parts, I think it would have been a better film. But it is what it is. That's how they did it, and yeah, go check it out. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. What do you thought of it? And yeah, check out my other content. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give this a like if you enjoyed it. And yeah, and thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one.